now. So again, we'll give people a chance to move into translation if they need to. Directions are on there for moving into the translation room. And I'm going to go ahead and get that started right now. One second. And start. Okay, thank you again. If you're just joining and you need translation, there's some directions on here to get into the translation room. And we're going to talk tonight about grades and how to finish off the semester strong. So I have some information for what grades mean, where to access grades, and then also some information for how to help your students with improving their grades and getting their progress back up to where they want it to be. So first, just some basics about grading. Grades may look a little bit different than when you are in school or when you last looked at grades, or even if you had older children that have gone through school. Many of our teachers use what's called a standards-based grading. And so you may see something where your student has a 65% and has a B in the class, which may feel a little bit different than grading that you have seen in the past. So when you're looking at grades or talking to your student about grades, it's important to remember that the percentage may not match up with what your understanding of the grade has been in the past. So it's important to look at both the percentage and then also the grade. And then teachers will also have their grades broken down by different categories. So assessments, which will be assessing how they're doing on different skills from the course, and then practice and prep, which will be more of the homework classwork, what they do to practice as they move toward mastery in their classes. So again, likewise, you may see a student that has an 82%, and that 82% is an A. So when you first pull up your grades, if you're looking at Canvas, you may just see the percentages. And sometimes we get panicked calls or emails from parents saying, my student is failing everything. And then when we actually look at the grades, they're doing okay. So important to then go into each of those grade books, look at what those details are, and then see what the corresponding grade is. And then once again, down here, it's broken down into practice and prep. So that'll be classwork, homework, and then achievement of the standards, which is really showing that the students are mastering what they need to master to be successful in that class and to be prepared for the next level that they're moving on to. If we dive a little bit deeper into the grade book, and I will give you some information about how to access gradebooks and how to look at your students' grades a little bit later in the presentation. And we'll also have some questions at the end as well. But if you dive a little bit deeper into their gradebook in Canvas, which is our new grading system that we're using this year, you can find more detailed information about what your students turning in. So this is a gradebook from one class, and you'll be able to see, for example, if an assignment is missing. If it's been attempted, oftentimes that means that they have turned it in, or they've started it, or they've completed it, but still need to work on the mastery of the skills. You can see if it's been completed and on time. You can see if it was turned in late. So all of that information is in Canvas. And so it can help you understand why your student is getting the grade that they're getting. And then also where they can work toward bringing those grades up. And then more importantly, feeling like they're moving toward mastery and they're getting those skills done that they need to get done to pass. Very, very important coming up is this semester grade right here. We have progress reports for the 6-week and the 12-week mark. These are just informational, meaning this is a communication from teachers to students and their families showing where they are in their progress. So these are helping students understand where they are and where they need to get. This grade right here, the semester grade, is the really important one, because this is the one that goes on their transcript, and this is the one that gives them the credits. So these grades are the ones that we say, you know, count. So as we move toward the end of the semester, which is coming up in just a few weeks, we've got this week and a couple weeks after that, and then final exams. These grades right here that will populate once the semester is over, those are the grades where the students are going to get the credits, and those are the grades that are going to be what follow them after high school, whether they're going into a job or a community college or college. So for example here, a student passed all of these classes, and this is from a transcript. And so you can see that the student received credits for each of these classes, 5 credits. The student did not pass this class, and so they did not get the credits. And so oftentimes for our freshmen, this is a little bit different, because they're used to middle school where if you get an F, you just keep going. And in high school, if you get an F, you don't get those credits and you have to take that class again. And you have to recover those credits so that you can get back on track for graduation. So very important, again, as we move to these last few weeks, that students really work to get their grades up to passing, and preferably up to a C- or better, because that really is an indication that they're progressing where they need to be to meet the standards. And then also that's keeping them eligible for going to a 4-year university straight out of high school. And for finding information about grades, and this presentation will be posted on our website, so you'll be able to click on these links to get more information about how to access Canvas. So there's a couple videos for how to for parents about how to see it from their view. And then also some information about Parent Square. If you're not already connected to Parent Square, we send a lot of communication through there. So that's another great resource for you. So again, this will be posted. You can also contact any of us, and we can help out with getting you connected to those things as well. I'm going to pause for just a minute just to see if there are any questions. So Mr. Nelson, maybe you can help me if there's any questions in the chat or in the Q&A.
None in the chat so far.
I think I see one in the Q&A. Do you see that one? Let me see if I can pull it up without losing my presentation. No?
My son's 12-week shows P for art class. Why does he get a letter? Why does he get a letter grade? My son's 12-week progress report shows P for art class. Why does he get a letter grade, or why doesn't he get a letter grade?
That's a good question. It could be when he started the class. If he entered the class a little bit later in the semester, there may not have been enough information for a grade at that point. So that might be something that was particular to that class or to that student situation. We are doing grades again. I know that some people might be familiar with the pass, no pass that we had during quarantine and during the school closures, but now we are moving to grades. And so if there is a pass instead of a grade there could be a specific circumstance for that. So I would recommend contacting the student's counselor.
You got a letter grade for the 6-week period.
Is there another question?
It's a continuation. He got a letter grade for the 6-week period. So yes, definitely contact.
Yeah, I would just contact the counselor. It could be a mistake. It could be a special circumstance. Yeah, so I would just contact them directly. Are there more questions in the Q&A?
One person cannot get their camera to work. Yeah, and then the other one's Ms. Basugi is going to have, or Mr. Basugi is going to have his son contact the counselor. Great.
Okay, and we'll also have time for questions at the end. So, you know, if something comes up or if there's things that you want to dive more deeply into, we can do that at the end of the presentation.
Now, if a student gets an F but works out and pass, will the F marks stay on his record?
So I think the way I'm interpreting that question is if the student has an F on their progress report. So for example, if they have an F on their 6-week or 12-week progress report, and they pass the class, then no, those grades do not go down anywhere permanently. Again, those are just communication. And so if the student got, let's say, a C- at the semester, that's the grade that would be on their transcript. The other way to interpret that question would be is if a student failed a class and then took the class again, and let's say got a C the second time they took the class, then that will still show up on their transcript, but then they would get the credits and that grade would also be on their transcripts. So hopefully I answered that question in the way that people were intending it to be. And again, I can come back for more questions at the end. So if there's more clarification, I can go over it then. This is just more information about finding ways to connect through Canvas and also through Aries, which will be where the grades go in so that you can see their semester grades. You can see their progress grades now, and that's where their semester grades will also go. And if you go to our parent center and go to Aries, Canvas, Naviance, and Parent Square, it gives you information for all of those about how to get connected as a parent. And we have information in English and Spanish. And like I said, you can also contact us directly if you have any questions or want help with figuring that piece out.
There's another concern from a parent. Could you please ask teachers to enter completed assignments on time? It is frustrating when points are missing, even though assignments were actually done.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it is it can be frustrating, I know, for a student and for parents who are eager to see that progress, especially if maybe a student was not doing well and has really started to turn things in and wants to see that grade turn around. Teachers are also very overwhelmed with grading and have a lot of students, and so it's one of those things that can be challenging for them to get things in right away, especially if it's being done after a due date. If anyone does have specific concerns about a class or a teacher getting their grades in, then the recommendation is to first reach out to the teacher to see if they can get more information about where the student is. And then if they need additional help, they can contact the student's counselor or assistant principal. And I'll go over all of our staff and who is responsible for which students in a little bit too, so that those can be resources for you to reach out to. I did want to talk a little bit about some recovery options, and these are embedded, which means that they're currently happening in classes, and it gives students a chance to recover and improve before that final semester grade comes out. So we currently have an embedded recovery happening in government and econ, and this is what they call success time. This is embedded during class, and it's usually once a week or once every couple weeks, and it is time for students to look at their grades, set some goals, work on re-engagements, and a re-engagement could be redoing an assignment. It could be doing a different assignment that is trying to target the skills that they need to work on, or it could be a reassessment. A lot of teachers offer reassessments, like, for example, taking a quiz, retaking a quiz, or redoing a lab. And so those are all things that can happen during this kind of embedded recovery. And so for government and econ, they're doing that on a weekly or semi-weekly basis to allow all of their students a chance to get caught back up, to bring up their grade, to practice the skills that they're going to need for that final exam or final assessment. Physics has a similar process, but they are having students do a couple of review pair decks, and a pair deck is a piece of technology that teachers use to have students practice those skills. And they want students to have that practice before they do a reassessment, so that they're feeling confident and they're not just going in and retaking a test and still not doing well on it. So students review those pair decks, and then they can take a reassessment outside of class time, after school, at lunch, or other times arranged. And we do have recovery teachers that are working with them, and also having after school project workshops for students to complete the bigger assessments or assignments that they need to get their grades up. Spanish 1 and Spanish for Spanish Speakers 1, students are completing some re-engagement activities outside of class, checking in with teachers or doing reassessments during 5th period. And teachers are working with those students individually to try to work on those skills to get them up to where they need to be going into that final assessment. So those are some examples of our embedded recovery options. And aside from these, many of our teachers offer ways for students to redo assignments, to redo tests, to get that practice in and get their grades up, those opportunities so that they're not feeling like they can't be successful at the semester. So definitely have your student reach out to their teachers and come up with a plan for how they can be successful as we move toward the end of the semester. We do have teacher office hours and support. Those are available on our website. So there's a link on our website that takes you to the teacher's office hours and when they're available for students to come in for some one-on-one help. And that's on our website under contact staff. We also have our counselors and administrators that are working closely, a lot of pulling in students right now, talking to them about their attendance or grades, really helping to try to motivate and push them to get through the next few weeks strong. And then we do also have CASI counseling and a school social worker that can work with students if they are having some social emotional challenges or even just general stress that's related to the end of the semester and grades and all of the stuff that's coming up for them. So if you have questions about any of those, then you can also reach out to the student's counselor or assistant principal, and we can help get your student connected with those services. This is the same thing in Spanish, just wasn't enough room on the one slide.
Parent asks if the
Go
meeting is,
ahead, Mr. Nelson.
yeah, a parent's asking if the meeting is being recorded, and yes, it definitely is, and it will be available afterwards on the school website, correct?
Yes, yeah, I will put it up on the school website, and I can also email it to somebody if they want it directly through email to be able to click on links and get the information in there. So just some suggestions are for how your student can be successful, how you as a parent or family member can help your student be successful. And one of the best ways is to maintain good attendance. There's not surprisingly a big connection between attendance and grades. And if you were at our last parent meeting, which was all about attendance, we talked about the connection between attendance and graduation rates, grade point average, success in college and beyond. So we really encourage students to have a 95% or better attendance rate. And that really means, not missing more than a couple days a semester. We do recognize that right now is a different time, and that students are encouraged, of course, to stay home when they're sick, and we don't want to jeopardize anybody's safety. So we do understand that right now things are a little bit different, but we really want to maintain as good of an attendance rate as we can, because whenever students are missing, they're missing a lot of important stuff, and it can also lead to that stress of constantly feeling behind. The other thing that's happening right now is that we're having a lot of tardies, a lot of students that are not arriving to class on time. Some of this is maybe transportation or getting up in the morning, but a lot of what we're seeing is actually students just kind of delaying going to class, not really having any sense of urgency to getting to class. And we're struggling with this and feel like we're chasing with them to their classes every period. And it's really not just because we love rules and we love being mean. We really recognize the importance of the information that teachers give at the beginning of class. This is the time when teachers talk about what students did last time, what they're going to do today in class, what's homework is coming up, what assessments are coming up, what opportunities do they have to reassess. All of that stuff happens in those first few minutes of class. So if a student's coming in late, they're missing that, and then they're behind right away from the moment they get into class. So really, please encourage your students, and if you are a student, please make a commitment to yourself to be in class on time, because we also, of course, see a correlation between being in class on time, having very few or no tardies, and being successful and having good grades. Also, trying to schedule as much as possible a daily time for homework or studying. And sometimes this can be hard with family schedules or work or other things, commitments that come up. But the more it can become a habit and something that's just kind of the expectation is, I get home, I have a snack, I do some homework, I do some studying. That's really, that setting those habits are going to be what's going to help those students long term in being able to have that time so that they're committing to their schoolwork and really setting aside some time to make sure that they're on the right track. And then of course, asking for help when you need it. I find a lot in talking to students that they don't want to ask for help because they feel like they're the only one that maybe doesn't understand what's happening, or the only one that missed something or didn't understand a particular problem, when in fact there's several students probably that are in the same situation. And so really encouraging students to ask for help when they need it, to become those self-advocates, because that's a really important skill as you move into the future. Advocating for yourself, asking for help, and really just reaching out when something's confusing or when you're feeling overwhelmed. Teachers, staff members, teachers' aides, counselors, administrators, those are all people that you can come to if you're needing that extra help. And this is an article, and again, it will be linked on this presentation, and I just put a couple excerpts from it about how to help your child succeed at school. And there's some recommendations, for example, for focusing on the process, encouraging your kids, as I just mentioned, to self-advocate, really maintaining a healthy sleep schedule. This is huge, making sure students are getting enough sleep, and not trying to overschedule or just focus on the grades, right? We really want to focus on, are they learning? Are they progressing? Are they getting those skills they need? And of course, wanting to have passing grades and hopefully good grades, but also focusing on that process and getting them ready to be successful. And a couple other things they recommend in this article: ensure quiet time in your house. May not always be possible, but things that you can control, like turning off electronics. They really recommend keeping phones away, which is the third point here. People cannot multitask as much as they say they can. And even things like listening to music, studies are showing that that's a distraction and can make studying and learning a lot more difficult. Everybody's different and everybody has things that help them. But for the most part, limiting that technology and really having students be able to focus on one thing is going to be huge. And then the middle point is just asking your kids about what a routine might look like. The more we can include students into that conversation, the more that they're going to feel like they have control over it, and that they have agreed to it and have buy-in. So talking about what's going to work for them and what is going to help them be most successful with doing their homework or getting some work done. Maybe they need to go out, take a break right after school. Maybe they need to have some physical activity. What's going to help them so that they're ready to sit down and learn. And the last part of the presentation is just some resources and contacts for you. Again, as we move into these crucial last weeks of school, our principal, Larry Lopez, assistant principals, which are broken down by last name. So if your student has a last name A to GI, that's going to be Mr. Gonzalez. GO to O is Ms. Wynn, and P to Z is me, Ms. Schubert. We also have our activities director and athletic director. These are all people that make up our administrative team. And each assistant principal works with a guidance counselor. So same thing, broken down by last name. A to GI is Ms. Geist. GO to O is Ms. Bayes. Right now, Mr. Nelson, who's here with us tonight, is subbing for Ms. Bayes while she is out on leave. And then Mr. Mendoza and I work together with students with last names P to Z. We also have our IB, our International Baccalaureate Program coordinator, Ms. Alamet, our ELD coordinator, Ms. Leversey, and then our community liaison, Blanca Diaz. As I mentioned before, we have Cassie Services, which is school-based counseling. And Jeanette Arana is our current Cassie counselor, and Monica Burton is our school social worker. She also runs our wellness center, and that's a place for students to come by at break or lunch or after school or right before school if they need to drop in, have a safe place to be. And then they can also fill out a request to see go to the wellness center and see Ms. Burton, and then she will look at those and pull students in as needed. So those are a couple other resources. Again, as some of that stress becomes, you know, a little heavier as we get toward the end of the semester. We also have wonderful office staff. Ms. Durian, our registrar, Ms. Lopez is our health clerk. You may have worked with her if there's been any health issues. And then of course, Mr. Jones, our attendance clerk, our 24-hour attendance line, just to make sure you're keeping in communication with us about attendance. And then Ms. Harvey is our principal secretary. Ms. Ramos Gonzalez is our office clerk or front office secretary. And then Ms. Gardner is our finance clerk. So these are all people you might see in the office if you stop by. These are also great people to help out with getting you connected to any of the things we talked about, Aries or Parrot Square or Canvas. This is kind of an outdated picture now. We haven't been able to take our picture all very close together with masks off for a while, but we have amazing teachers and staff, very, very hardworking teachers and staff that want students to succeed. So again, I really encourage you to reach out to them if a student's struggling, or on the other hand, if your student's having a great experience, reach out to them too and tell them that, because that means a lot to teachers. There are some opportunities to connect at Del Mar. So we have clubs, sports, school events, volunteer opportunities, work experience opportunities. Ms. Shembri is our activities director, so she would be the person to contact to get involved in activities. And Ms. Kalara is our college and career counselor, and so she would be the person to talk to about volunteer or work opportunities. She's also the person to talk to about college and career, if a student's wanting to get a job and needs a work permit, or is just looking at possible jobs and careers for the future. And she's in room 4, which is our college and career center. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing and see if there are any further questions or things that people want to know a little bit more about. Mr. Nelson, any more questions in the Q&A or chat?
There's just a concern over technical issues. One of our watchers is having problems with the camera. Now he can't access the microphone. But as far as questions.
Yeah, well, so attendees aren't able to talk in a webinar. So if you do have questions, put them in the Q&A. You can also put them in the chat, because we, when it's a webinar, you won't be able to speak or have your camera on for this. Okay, I think the rest of these have been answered over here. Okay, any other questions? And again, you can put those in the Q&A or the chat. Or other topics that you're interested in hearing more about in terms of grades or progress. All right, well, I'm gonna wait a few minutes just to see if there are questions or other things that people want to hear more about. And then if not, we'll wrap it up, and I'll be putting up this presentation and the slideshow up on our website soon. So I'm gonna hang out for just a couple more minutes to see, and feel free to log off if you're done. And then again, please reach out to us if you do have questions or concerns about your student. We're always happy and eager to help students succeed. That's what we're here for. So don't hesitate to reach out.
We do have a question. How can I find out about activities for my student who is virtual learning?
So students that are in the virtual academy are still students at Del Mar as well. So they can participate in school activities. They would just reach out to Ms. Shembri, just like they would if they were attending in-person classes. In terms of activities specific to the virtual academy, they should reach out to the counselor there if there's anything that's happening, through the virtual academy. But because they are still students at Del Mar, they are able to participate in dances, sports, other activities. So reaching out to Ms. Shembri would be the best way to do that. Tutoring resources, I see. Yeah, so tutoring resources, we have a few different options. We have paper tutoring, which is it's a company that has private tutors, but it's all virtual. And so students can log on and they're available 24 hours a day. So if they're struggling, for example, if they're struggling with like a math problem and it's midnight and they can't call their teacher, or, email their teacher, that's a great resource. Is the paper, and we can give information to families or students about that. We also have information that was given to them during their advisory classes, and we have some posters up around campus, but you can also reach out to counselors for that. We also do have an after school tutoring center for our emerging multilingual students, and that's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday after school. So that's another option for our emerging multilingual students. And then, as I mentioned, we have office hours for students that they can have that one-to-one support with their teacher. And then I think the person that asked also clubs is about the virtual academy. And yes, they can also participate in clubs on campus, but if they're during the school day, they just would need to coordinate so that they're not, so that they're coming at the appropriate time.
And Ms. Chambry is located in room 28.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Nelson, anything else for tutoring or other academic supports that you can think of?
Paper, which you've already discussed. I can't think of anything offhand. I think you hit them all.
Great. Okay.
Once the last semester grade is in, can the grade be changed? Last semester, my son turned final in late due to misunderstanding of the teacher did not grade the final, so he did not pass.
Yeah, so again, that would be probably a specific question for the teacher, because I don't know all of the circumstances for it. Most teachers are going to be accepting work until the end of grading periods. And so oftentimes, they won't accept work from like the first grading period or from the second grading period, but they'll take stuff up until the final exam. But it's really going to be on a case by case basis with the teacher. So that's why it's important to keep that communication. And that if there are any communications, and reaching out to that teacher directly, or if you need extra help, reaching out to the counselor as well. Okay, we'll wait just a couple more minutes to see if there's other questions. Where is the test started? Can you, Gloria, can you specify which test you mean? Oh, the finals. The final exams are going to be, let's see, I can pull that up, or maybe Mr. Nelson, do you have the final schedule handy?
Let's see, finals.
So we have this week.
Finals, December 20th, 21st, and 22nd.
Yeah, kind of late this year into December. But yeah, so there's still a little bit of time, but that will be our finals week, and communication will also go out about the schedule for that week as we get closer to it. So we have this week and then 2 more instructional weeks, and then we'll have our finals week after that. Well, thank you everybody for coming. I'm going to hold on just a couple more minutes to see if there's other questions. I really appreciate you taking the time to be here. And like I said, don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have questions over the next few weeks or anytime. We love Del Mar students, and we want them to be successful. I tell them that I chase them to class and I bug them about their grades because I care. So I'm not sure if they believe me, but it's true.
Yes, quite often the teachers and admin appear to care more than the students.
They care. Sometimes they just don't show it in a way that adults are used to, but they do. They want to do well. Students want to learn. They want to do well, and you know, we're here to help get them back on that track so that they can do well.
Plenty of support and resources.
All right, everybody. Well, I will post this in a couple days up on our website, and feel free to reach out to me with information before that. Thank you to Ms. Martinez for translation. Thanks, Mr. Nelson, for being here and helping with the Q&A. And I hope everybody has a wonderful evening and a wonderful rest of your week. Bye, everyone.